Grand Theft Auto 5 is set in Los Santos, a fictional city inspired by Los Angeles, but deliberately pushed into exaggeration. The game came out in 2013 and is deeply rooted in early 2010s pop culture, especially when it comes to media, celebrities, and attention-driven lifestyles. What I'm arguing is that this satire doesn't take you out of the experience, instead it pulls you in further. Los Santos feels believable, not because it aims for only realism, but because it exaggerates cultural behaviors that already felt familiar at the time, making the world feel recognizable and socially grounded. Los Santos isn't trying to be a perfect recreation of LA, it's more like a compressed, exaggerated version of it, and the city leans hard into stereotypes, whether it's celebrity obsession or just shallow social values, pardon me. But that exaggeration works because it lines up with how LA is often represented through media. The world feels culturally recognizable even when it's over the top. Instead of feeling fake, it feels like a heightened version of something we already understand. Why the world feels so immersive is how the NPCs behave. People are constantly focused on themselves, their phones, they overreact to anything, and they even have their own Life Invader profiles, which is a form of social media within the game.
I really gotta get some underwear. I'm sweating like a goose at Christmas.
I guess so.
Spending $200 on vintage footwear is anti-capitalism.
Totally.
It's so hard juggling all the modeling and acting and being a DJ too, you know?
Whatever.
What makes this immersive is not that civilians feel realistic as individuals, they're actually more shallow and repetitive. But that repetition is the point. It reinforces the idea that this city runs on spectacle. The civilians act like they're constantly being watched, and by extension, so is the player. The world feels socially reactive. It responds loudly, dramatically, and publicly to everything. That consistency builds what you could call social realism. It's not realism in terms of emotional depth or subtle character writing. It's realism in how it captures the feeling of a culture obsessed with visibility and performance. Even small details reinforce this. Pedestrians shout insults over trivial things, drivers escalate road rage quickly, public spaces feel tense and performative rather than calm. It reinforces the sense that Los Santos is not just a place, it is a stage. Because this behavior is ambient and constant, the player doesn't experience it as commentary, it just becomes how the world works, and the player is completely immersed in it. That's what strengthens the immersion. The game commits so fully to this exaggerated version of social behavior that it starts to feel internally natural. Even critics support this idea of immersion through exaggeration. In its original review, IGN praised GTA 5 for how alive and detailed Los Santos feels, describing it as a living and breathing city. At the same time, The Guardian described the game as a monstrous parody of modern life, noting how the game's satirical portrayal of culture and society feels vivid.
The mission Fame or Shame is probably the clearest example of GTA 5 satire working on its own. The mission is a parody of reality TV talent shows, where humiliation and public failure are treated as entertainment. Everything about the show is exaggerated. The judges, the contestants, the way the audience reacts, but it still feels familiar. If you're watching reality TV in the early 2010s, this doesn't feel random. It feels like GTA taking something real and pushing it further. What's important is that the mission doesn't feel disconnected from the world. It feels like something that would naturally exist in Los Santos. The satire isn't subtle, but it's grounded in unrecognizable media culture, which helps the world feel believable instead of cartoonish. Another way the game pulls the player into the satire is through how it treats media as something the player constantly engages with, not just background noise. When you're driving, you're choosing radio stations filled with parody ads, talk shows, and music that all reinforce the same exaggerated culture. Even though listening to the radio isn't required, most players do it anyway, which means they're voluntarily absorbing the satire while just existing in the world.
Surf up, San Andreas. The fertilizer you put on your lawn has ruined the water table. Nice going. Fortunately, I have a manic amount of great tracks to keep you dancing, and your mind off the fact that you live in a place where you can't drink the tap water.
Your grocery store defines what kind of person you are. Join the organic elite at the Grain of Truth and shop with superiority. Food has never been this self-satisfying. Featuring organic, natural, fair trade, macrobiotic, sustainably harvested, farm-to-table, goji infused, antioxidant-rich, 7-grain, 12-grain, whole grain, gluten-free, cruelty-free, vegan, vagina, non-genetically modified, zero trans fat, free-range foods at prices you simply won't believe. It's that, or are you more of the factory-farmed, genetically altered, hormone-infused, horse meat-infected, slave labor-harvested, agribusiness-supporting, obesity-causing common herd? We didn't think so. You're just like us. You belong. Shop with people just like you. People that drive hybrids and listen to public radio and argue about recycling. It's unscalable elitism for the sustainable crowd. Open up your mouth and look down at people. It's delicious. It's the Grain of Truth food stores. Naturally exclusive.
That choice matters because it makes the player an active participant in the culture of Los Santos. You're not forced to sit through satire in a cutscene, you're opting into it while playing, which makes it feel like a part of the everyday life in the city, rather than a separate commentary. Game scholars like Ian Bogos talk about how games communicate ideas through repeated systems and experiences. In GTA 5, the constant exposure to satire, especially through missions like Fame or Shame, help reinforce the feeling that this world operates according to its own cultural logic. Overall, Los Santos feels immersive because the game fully commits to its exaggerated version of reality. By leaning into satire instead of just realism, GTA 5 creates a world that feels socially believable, even when it's ridiculous.